Hello folks, and welcome to this week's episode of What Are You Doing? The show where we show you not only what we're doing in our shop, but what you're doing in your shop as well. It's projects in progress where we hold ourselves accountable for what we start all the way to what we finish. Now this week we had a lot of people send in photos, and they all came from Facebook, through email, from you guys on YouTube watching, even Twitter. You guys are sending me photos of stuff you're doing, so let's get right into it. Dave Mann made a coffee table, and this was pretty cool. It has one of those tops that lift up so you can be sitting at the sofa and working on something, and then it retracts down. So that looked really nice, Dave. Keith Mealy made a sewing cabinet for his wife, and he got the idea from a Jim Stack book. And I've got a couple of Jim's books. They're nice books, so they might be worth you guys checking out one of these days. But Keith, nice job. And I know Keith from down there in Cincinnati. He's got the Cincinnati's Woodworking Club that he's in. They had me down there a couple of times to speak for them. So Keith, say hi to all the folks down there for me. Dave Graham. Dave's working on a loft bunk bed, and the photo here shows the footboard that he's working on. And the photo was a little misleading because when I first glanced at it, I thought he was like making some kind of cabinet and all that stuff was sitting on shelves. But if you look real close, that's actually part of the bed, and the stuff behind it, well, that's just stuff in the shop. But at any rate, David, I'm really curious to see how the rest of this bed is going to shape out. So keep posting your pictures here each week. We'll show you here on the show and show everybody the progress you're making with it. Al Mazari, he's building a shed. Now, I don't know if this is a shed for some woodworking or if it's just a shed for his garden supplies. But at any rate, as you can see, he's just starting on it, and I love to see this stuff in progress. I'm real curious to see how it shapes up. So Al, make sure you keep, again, posting your pictures here so we can show everybody your progress. Ben Pytak, he made a step stool for his daughter, and I was joking with Ben. I wanted to know if it was a step stool or if it was a timeout seat for the kid. But at any rate, you can see that he put dovetails on it, and I was curious if Ben did those by hand or if he used a jig. So Ben, let me know what you did with that. DeForest Keeling, he's adding some wood to the walls, and he was talking with me. He's going to be staining it and putting a finish on it, but it looks like he's got a pretty big area. At least the photo looks like it could be a pretty big area, so he's got a lot of work that he's doing there. That ought to be interesting to see it when it's done. Frank Yazetta, he sent a bunch of pictures to me. The one I really liked was this dresser. It looks like it's walnut, and it looks like it's shaker style, but at any rate, really nice dimensions and proportions on that. I just love the look of that thing. Okay, now I'm probably going to get your name wrong here, but it's Holz Mechaniker. And Holz is a very skilled turner. Now, I'm not sure what you call this. I just said it's a bowl with a lid. But let me tell you, this is turning at its best. This is a beautiful piece that he has here. And as you've heard me say before on the show, I only do turning when the job requires it for the customer. So anyone that is really good at this craft, I'm in awe of. So nice job there, Holz. John Ferguson, John's talking that he's moved recently and he's setting up shop, and you can see in this photo here he's adding like a sliding door for the shop. That's going to be great for two things. One, for getting stuff in and out of the shop, and two, more natural light. You can never go wrong with more natural light. Jonathan Sr., he made a TV console. Jonathan's over there in Australia. You heard me talking to him last week, but at any rate, he's turning out some nice stuff. And Kevin Delk, I'm going to start calling Kevin the Machine, because every week, Kevin is like posting something that he's built. The guy is not only fast, but he's really good. At any rate, Kevin has a drawing here of, he called it a toy box, but it's not a toy box for kids. Kevin's really into guitars, and he's going to use it to mount his amps on, and then those are going to be drawers that pull out, and he's probably going to put other guitar gear inside there. But that's his drawing, his concept. So Kevin, real anxious to see the progress on it. I'm sure by next week you'll like have it done, and we'll be posting the finished picture. But anyhow, Kevin's great. Let's see, we got Terry. Dan, help me.
Go on, Terry.
Terry, is it Krelling? How do you say that?
Let me see what you got.
Krelling?
Yep, Terry Krelling.
He did a segmented bowl. This is where you take a bunch of little blocks and you glue them together, and then he turns the whole thing on the lathe, and it just produces amazingly beautiful results. So nice job, Terry. And Fred Falagino. Is that right? Did I say that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Fred, hopefully I got your name right there. Fred Falagino, he made this flag out of wood. And speaking of that, Fred this week is our viewer spotlight of the week. So let me tell you a little bit about Fred and his website. Now, first of all, Fred is a retired Air Force pilot.
Thanks for your service, Fred.
Yes, thanks for your service, Fred. But get this, Dan. Not only was Fred in the service, his wife's father, and grandparents, plus uncles, were all in the service.
That's a lot of people, man.
That's a whole lot of people.
So thanks for your service, thanks for your service, thanks for your service, thanks for your service, thanks for your service.
I think they get it. I think they get it, Dan.
Well, thanks for your service.
But at any rate, that definitely is a dedicated family. And I was going to say, you know, anyone who's in the service, that's really takes a special person, because you are sacrificing your family for when the nation needs you. And the fact that he's married into this, definitely they get it. So it's pretty amazing stuff that they're doing. But because Fred is so patriotic, he specializes in his woodworking. He specializes in flags, aviation signs, helmet displays, and keepsake boxes. Now, Fred says there's 3 types of people that visit his website: aviation enthusiasts, patriots, and friends. He also says, what do these people have in common? Other people admire them and want to be friends with them. And I think that's a pretty good statement there. So if you would like to see more of what Fred does, I have his website below, and I've included his YouTube pages and all the other social media stuff. So again, you guys have been so gracious with supporting others and supporting me and Dan on this show. So if you would like to check out Fred's stuff, if you like it, subscribe to his channel, or just, you know, shoot him a message, a little email or a comment, you know, thanking him for what he's doing and the sacrifice he's made. But at any rate, Fred is our viewer spotlight of the week. And if you would like to be featured on the show, whether you just want one of your projects displayed, or if you would like to be the viewer spotlight of the week, go ahead and email me at stantonfinefurniture@gmail.com. We read every comment, every email. I might reply a little late because we get a lot of email and we have a lot of work going on. But we do read everyone, and I will get back to you. Okay, so let's see. That brings us up to date with what you guys have done. And so now here's what we're doing in our shop. As you guys know, the last couple of weeks, Dan and I, we've been working on a construction site. We're building some office walls for a lawyer's, attorney's place. And we've got the drywall just about done. We're going to do the final coat probably today. And then I'm going to be doing some windows and doors, the painting, that whole nonsense. Also, too, in the shop, you heard me say that I had to get a coffee table done, this pinball coffee table done for a customer. He's got a, I don't know, a pinball coffee, or pinball, what do you call it, convention coming up, you know, who knew? But at any rate, he wants this to be there at the show. He's going to showcase it, and so got it all done.
I heard it's for the wizard.
I imagine there's probably going to be a couple that claim that title there. But it's all out of walnut, except for the bottom shelf. That was walnut plywood. And then, of course, I just did the finish. And that's why you guys see all these tarps hanging up here, because I kind of have to mask the shop off to do the finish on it. And you know, Dan, I'm thinking I kind of liked these tarps. I feel like Johnny Carson when they come through.
Does that make me Ed?
I guess that would, wouldn't it? So. No, at any rate, so that's why the shop looks like it does. But I thought I would talk a little bit about finish, because I had a fella email me, Dominic Flores. He emailed me this week with a question about finish. And he's been watching a lot of stuff on YouTube, and he's not really sure with what to go with. And I gotta say, finish is one of the most difficult and confusing things in woodworking. And I can spend as much time on the finish part of the project than I do the build. And it's the part that scares me the most, because you can work really hard at making a beautiful piece of furniture, and the wrong stain and the wrong finish can mess it all up. So I'm going to tell you what I use, and I'm one of these guys that once I find something I don't like to change too much, but I would say that 90% of what I use for a finish is this product here. It's the M.L. Campbell pre-catalyzed lacquer. Now, what I like about this is when it goes on smooth, it dries fast, and it's rock hard. I love it. I can get several coats on in a day versus like polyurethane that, you know, takes hours, 4 to 8 hours to dry for one coat. I can bang out 4 or 5 coats in an afternoon with this stuff and call it done. However, there's a drawback to it. It is lethal in the fumes that it does. Now, I spray this on, and I spray it on with this Erlax HVLP spray gun. And I gotta say, I bought this at the beginning of the year. It was about $400. I was kind of nervous to spend that kind of money on it, but let me tell you, this is a great gun. I really like the gun, and it sprays this product well, but because it's so lethal, I have to wear a serious heavy-duty mask with it. You need a good mask with good filters on this stuff. A little wimpy mask like this is not going to cut it. Now, even though I have the mask on, I've been concerned about the fact that my skin is still absorbing the fumes from this. So that's got me thinking here lately. I want to switch to a different product. And after using this for so many years, it's hard for me to decide a product to switch to. And I've been playing with a new product. This is a product from Crystal Lac. It's a water-based product. Now, I've used it a few times. I'm not going to say that I swear by it at this point, but I've used it a few times, and I really like it. It goes on smooth, it dries really hard, it dries fast, and there's no vapors to it. So that's really nice. But I'll be honest with you, I'm going to do a few tests of my own on this, and I'll get back with you guys if I actually really like this and I'm going to make the change. One of the reasons I'm reluctant in making the changes, because this is water-based, it's typically best to stick with water-based products, which means my stains should be water-based as well. and I have a whole cabinet full of oil-based stains. So do I chuck those? Do I use them up and then make the switch? I don't know yet. I was told I could use water-based over oil as long as you can't smell the oil on the project. And that can take up to weeks before the oil fully, fumigates off, if you don't want any reaction of water and oil. So, at any rate, I'm still looking into this. So, I also this week had some trees that were cut down by a customer, and Tom Belcher of West River Woodworks called him up. He came out. He milled the trees into slabs for me, did a great job, really nice guy, really reasonable price. And he educated me on something I was rather unfamiliar with. I've always worked with wood from the sawmill that's already been dried and ready to go. And this is green, wet slabs of wood. And boy, did he tell me a lot. And the one thing he stressed was to right away to get something on the end grain to prevent the checking and the cracks as the moisture leaves these slabs. They're going to want to shrink and crack, and he said, you need to put something on it. So I was like, well, what should I put on it? Just paint? Because that's what I've seen people do. And he recommended a product called Anchor Seal 2, which must be the sequel to Anchor Seal 1. But at any rate, I had never heard of the product. Of course, he said I could get it at Woodcraft. And you just have to put one thin coat on the end grains, and it's supposed to stop that checking. So I'll let you guys know how it goes, because the wood's all piled up here in the driveway, and it's got to sit for a while. But at any rate, that was one of the other things he did this week. Okay, question of the week. So last week I asked you guys where you sell your stuff online. I got a lot of information, very useful. So thank you guys very much for taking the time to answer my questions. I had a question come in this week. The question came in from Luke McKenzie, and Luke asked me about books. Now, Luke said he's learned woodworking from YouTube. He's been doing woodworking for 3 years now, and he's learned everything from YouTube, which I think is great. That's pretty amazing. But he said because of what he's learning is mostly with power tools, he didn't really feel he had a good grasp of woodworking in joinery and the use of hand tools, and so asked me some books. Now, I have a lot of books. I have over 200 books in my collection, and I'm trying to back up a little bit now and think as a beginner, because a lot of my books I have are for detailed information and increasing my knowledge at my level. So I had to rewind a little bit and think as a beginner. And a book that I would highly recommend to people is Paul Seller's Woodworking Wood 1 and 2. Working Wood 1 and 2. This is a great book. He starts you off with some beginner projects, explains the technique, explains why, he explains wood movement. There's a lot of stuff covered in this book. So I think this is great for anyone's collection. A book that I used a lot in the beginning, because this one isn't that old, one that I got was, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name, is Tage Freed. He teaches woodworking. And he's got a couple of books out. This one's called Joinery, Tools and Technique. And this book is back in the 70s, but it still has great information in it. I mean, it has everything in there from doing, obviously, dovetails, mortise and tenon, tongue and grooves, you name it, finger joints. And he shows you how to do each of these, not only with hand tools, but with power tools as well. So you get both sides of it. Great book for your collection. And since we're just talking about books for your collection, a book I can't stress enough to have in it is the book Illustrated Cabinet Making by Bill Hyleton. This book is fantastic, and I use this as a reference all the time. Now, it does have pictures and chapters in here on joinery. It doesn't really show you how to do the joinery. It shows you, though, the different types of joinery. And same with the projects. It shows you projects, and it points out all the key points, but it doesn't give you all the fine little details, okay? But it definitely is worth having, because one of the things I love, it shows you proper dimensions on specific pieces you're making. For example, like if you're making a dining room table, not only does it tell you the proper height of a dining room table, but how much space do you need between your knees, lap, and the bottom of the table? How much do you need for room for the knees to the table? How much room do you need for the elbows? It's a great book that answers a lot of those questions you might have when you're trying to build something. So, highly recommend that. Okay, so my question this week to you is, what's your favorite woodworking book? I mean, I'm real curious to know, because I'm always looking to add more books to my collection, and I'm curious to see if there's a book that I don't have that you guys recommend, or I'm kind of curious to see if you guys recommend the same books that I actually do have. So maybe we'll do a whole segment one day just on woodworking books, but I'm real anxious to hear what you guys love reading. Let's see, so coming out this Friday, the video. Last week I did a quick tip, and it had to do with the wine station. I don't think that was any surprise to anyone. It was drilling out some arches, and, well, because you guys watch this show, you know what it's going to go on. So there's going to be another quick tip on that shows some details to it. And then probably in another couple weeks we'll have the whole build video of the wine station. I don't know. I might even break it up in the meantime. I might have a different video just because you guys might be getting bored of the wine station. But at any rate, that's probably what's coming out this Friday, another quick tip. Dan, you got anything to add?
I don't believe so.
All right, well, I think that wraps it up for this week. So thank you so much for sharing what you're doing in our shop. And we'll keep sharing with you what we're doing in our shop. And until next week, keep on dancing.